Tell our English-speaking only audience what the last half hour was about.
Yeah, it was about being a good person, being a civil person, and being not civil person. And I started with late President Gerald Ford, and I talked about, his legacy, and I told him that how American people, how non-American people regard him as a gentle soul, as a very humane sort of character. And when he goes, when he passes away, people...
Can we take that off in here?
Yes.
Good. Right. I'll go back again to what you were saying a minute ago.
Yes, I told them that, you see their telephones are started to talk to me. I told them that how he's regarded as a good person, a human sort of character. And all over the world, when he passes away, they talk about him very nicely, in a good word, and a very highly sort of fashion. Man, there are leaders like Saddam Hussein, and when he goes, so many people, millions of people in this world and in future life, generations and generations will talk about him as a dictator, as a bloodsucker. And that was the difference between the two characters of two leaders. And I encouraged my fellow countrymen to be civil. I told them that tomorrow, when our country is freed from this dictatorship, obviously you should, when you have hands on these people, hand on these Islamic revolutionaries, you should treat them humanely and civil, sort of with civil manner, not like them, because otherwise then you will be regarded as one of them. And this is very important that people should think about it, and because our country will be freed one day anyway. They are not going to rule the country forever, and therefore it is very important that how they should go, not when they should go, because they will go. It is very important that we do actually remember this, and we act accordingly in a proper human and civil manner.
Say something, if you want, well, if we've got another minute, about the American policy in the 70s under Richard Nixon, under Gerald Ford, and Jimmy Carter, and what the relationship was between the U.S. government under these three presidents and the Shah of Iran and the ruling circles in Iran, and how that contributed inevitably or not inevitably to what happened in 1979.
That has nothing to do with events in 1979. In fact, President Nixon and President Gerald Ford are being regarded as two very realistic and very clever politicians. The only problem with Nixon was the Watergate. Otherwise, his policies globally was very honorable one. Don't forget that he finished the Vietnam War. Don't forget that he opened the doors to China, and we did not have all these problems in 21st century that we have those days.
President Nixon, and particularly his Secretary of State, and before that his National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger, were very intimately involved politically with the Shah.
That is true. They regarded the Shah of Iran as close allies of the United States, and then he was very close ally of United States of America, and in particular, and West in general. And obviously we did have the stability and good relations within that strategic region of Persian Gulf, and there was no hostilities between the neighbors. And after 1979, the very first thing happened was the war between Iran and Iraq.
Right. What you said about the Islamic regime in Iran not always being there forever, the Shah's regime wasn't there forever either.
Of course, no regime is forever.
And the question has to be now, to what extent was the closeness of Nixon, Kissinger, and Ford with the Shah responsible still today for the strident anti-American rhetoric and policies of the ruling circles in Iran now?
Mark, I don't believe in that one, because they are not connected to each other.
Okay.
The Iranian government during the Shah's time had a very close relationship with various presidents. In fact, they were close with President John Kennedy, and they were treated very nicely and friendly in White House during, his visit to Washington. And prior to that one, the very close relationship was with President Eisenhower.
Right.
And
well, it was President Eisenhower's regime that put the Shah back on the peacock throne in 1953.
That is very debatable,
okay.
Obviously, because Mark, one of the problems with the recent history of Iran is that it's been mispresented in the public opinion, and it is very delicate matter to go to that period of history and say whether it was the United States government or it was the people of Iran or other elements was involved, and therefore it's got to be debated in a proper manner.
I hope we'll be able to spend some more time dealing in more detail with everything from then until now and to the future.
Sure.
Thank you.
Pleasure.